Hello, this presentation supports Business Studies Level 3, looking at marketing planning, internal, and specifically focusing on the marketing strategy part of our internal. So today we're looking at the strategic tools, 5 forces model, ANSOS matrix, the 7Ps, and the Boston matrix. And obviously with the idea that in our internal, we need to, as part of our internal, we need to apply these tools to the product that we are setting out a marketing plan for. So first one, Porter's 5 forces model. This is really an analysis of the competition within an industry, looking at it from 5 points of view. First, in the middle, we've got competitive rivalry. This is competitive rivalry from within the industry itself. So normally when we think about competition, it's from that standpoint. Who are the people that who are the organisations that we are competing with? Now, in Porter's 5 forces model, he took this model stage further to look at it from other points of view. Firstly, from within competition within the industry, what is the likelihood that there will be further competition joining the industry, i.e. what is the threat of new entries? Is there a high barrier of entry? Are there low barriers to entry? How much does it cost to come into the market? How much does it cost to set up? Okay, is there specific specialist knowledge? Are there specific economies of scale which really need to be gained before you can go into the market? So if there is a high threat um, of new entrants coming into the market, obviously that will have an impact on competitive rivalry down there and will accentuate it. Moving on, the threat of substitution. So from the nature of the product or the good, the service that you're providing, okay, how likely is it that customers can change their buying patterns effectively to fulfill the need and the want that you are offering? So is there a high chance of substitution? Does it cost for consumers to change? Again, if there's a high threat of substitution, you're going to increase your overall competitive rivalry. Um, Moving on, buyer power. Okay, so this is actually from the customer's point of view. How many customers are there? How much power do they have in the market? Are they the sort of group of customers who are that sort of number in size, whereby if they have influence on the type of pricing which is being used? Um, how many things do they order? How often do they order it? What is the size of their order? Do they buy in bulk? Do they buy individually? Okay. So all of these things tend to influence the nature of the competition within the industry itself. And then the final point, the fifth area, looking at this competitive model, is the suppliers. A little bit like our buyers, our consumers. Um, how many suppliers are there in the market? If there's a high amount of suppliers or low amount of suppliers, this will also have an effect on the nature of the rivalry within the market. Um, so as a very quick overview, there's a lot more that can be said about Porter's 5 forces model. Excuse me. But what we're looking at is from our internal point of view, we need to look at our product. How does it sit within these 5 areas in terms of understanding competitiveness of the environment in which we are trying to sell this. Excuse me. ANSOS. So ANSOS looked at specific strategies. I do apologise, it's not the best image. Specific strategies that organisations can use. And what he was looking at from 2 points of view, from the market point of view and from the product point of view. So he made 2 further distinctions, but so from the products, if they're existing or new, likewise with the markets, if they're existing or new. So first off, he was analysing that if there's an existing market with an existing product, okay, what you need to do to get into that market is some form of market penetration, and that could be what is that point of difference that allows you that access into the market. What is it that you're doing specifically to your existing products, which is slightly different to other organisations? Moving on, from a product's point of view, if you are a new product, okay, going into an existing market, again, what exactly is that point of difference which is going to allow you to get into the market. Ansoff also illustrated as part of his matrix, although it's not illustrated here, that there's a risk factor involved in it, and risk goes from left to right. Okay, so obviously a market penetration strategy carries less risk than a product development strategy. The whole idea of product development is like a little bit like the problem child. You're setting something up which is brand new, and something that's brand new into an existing market. So that's also obviously quite a risky move. Now, further down here, we've also got our existing products in a new market to a new market. And a really good example of this one was the Wii, when they changed Wii from being a games console, primarily to a games console, into a piece of equipment for fitness. So this was showing that and how they adapted an existing product into a new and targeting a new set of consumers into a new market. And then finally, if you are getting a new product into a brand new market, maybe a niche market, this is referred to as diversification. So something completely different, completely distinct, hopefully with the idea that the result being you get some sort of niche market which you are the sole owner or supplier of. This carries probably the most risk and strategy which is the most fraught with danger. So from this point of view, this is what Ansoff was looking at. So once again, what we're going to be doing is looking at our specific product and thinking, right, okay, what sort of strategy would we apply to this? Finally, well, the next one, it's the 7 Ps. Now, traditionally, we've looked at the 4 Ps, the product, price, and promotion. This is again developing marketing from way back in the 1950s, where they analysed that marketing isn't just about advertising, it's about setting the right place, setting up the distribution, setting up that distinct, unique sales possibility, potential rather, for the product, and also thinking about how we specifically promote it. Do we promote it using the media, using sales promotion, etc., etc. Bringing it forward a few days and modernising it, there's been further adaptations to this, and there's constantly been adaptations to this. But now all of a sudden we're thinking about the physical environment. What is the physical process which is being? What is the physical result of your product and your marketing? Is it in fact for hairdressers a change of hairstyle? Is it an actual physical good? For beauticians, is it a physical change of someone's face? This sort of idea. The process is a very significant thing. Now, this is the consideration of how do we actually manage the exchange of the process of money given over to the product, and vice versa. How are we going to get those that interaction between the customer and the organisation? How are we going to manage that to ensure that it's a positive thing and these customers are going to come back? One of the way that we are, is the last one, is thinking about people, getting the right people, particularly at some of these very, very high, intense areas of between in developing a relationship between the customer and the organisation. So this is what our 7 Ps are. So again, it's marketing, looking at all of these different aspects. Finally, a bit of a repeat. We've looked at this one, the Boston Matrix. This is very much analysing a portfolio of products for an organisation, and looking at specific products that they may have, analysing it in terms of the market share up here as opposed to the market growth. So if we've got a high market growth and a product with high market share, this is referred to as a star, highly profitable. We might need some some investment to keep them at that place in the Boston Matrix, to keep them at a star. Cash cows, high market share. The market isn't really going anywhere, but they're very well-known branded products. The curious one are the problem children, and I would tend to argue that any sort of new products that we're bringing into our market might be looking at this sort of area. Okay, quite new, future is uncertain. They could turn to stars, hopefully, but they also may turn into dogs if they're not handled correctly or not marketed in the right way. Finally, at dogs, obsolete products, basically. Now, in a perfect world, the launch of a product may start around about here, and it will go into this sort of anti-clockwise direction. However, there's lots of things that may change in the meantime, and this doesn't really also take into consideration the threat of competition as well. This one links in very nicely with our product life cycle. Very much this is like growth, introduction, growth, maturity,